I'm a coach, and today I'm going to talk about how coaches, and I'm one of them, screw everything up. You want the normal real estate training you've been told a million times? Make cold calls, knock on doors. Best be switching off now, because in this podcast we go out of the box using unknown tactics, primarily that the real estate industry's never heard of, in order to get you called in more often, convert those listings, and get more success without the painful cold calling. Listen up, we're in for a ride. This is Real Estate Renegades. So I think after all this time being a coach, I got to figure it out. And of all places, highly unlikely place for me to be inspired, I suppose, to figuring it out. And rather than me try and explain how it is, I'm going to just risk copyright, jail, and give you just a little snapshot, a little snippet of a sliver of a Joe Rogan podcast. If you never checked out Joe Rogan, he's a pretty cool dude, UFC commentator, martial artist himself. But, I think his skill is he's the male Oprah. He's awesome. And so anyway, in one of the many, many hours of Joe Rogan kind of listening that I've done, check this little snippet of that out and ignore the context with which he's talking, because he's talking about the UFC, and note the content. So check this out.
A lot of coaches, there's too many coaches, I find. You have a lot of these guys have a boxing coach that's telling them to box a certain way. Then all of a sudden they're going, hey, I got to do Muay Thai now. So they have a Muay Thai coach is now telling them to do Muay Thai this way. Yeah. Then all of a sudden, hey, we got to do spinning shit. So let's do it here. So now all of a sudden you have 3 different coaches all telling you to do different things. Yeah. So now this poor fighter is going to go to the ring. Yeah, you might know everything from all of them, but what are you going to do? You're going to get confused. That's where, again, basics are important. That's why I don't think you should overcomplicate shit. So I know if you're going to jab, I know how I'm going to do it. I don't have time to sit there and be like, okay, I know I can parry. I know I can slip. I know I can time with the low kick. You have to know. Right. And I think with too many coaches are complicating shit for these guys, where they think they have to hit all of these things. So they're going to all these different coaches, and it's way overcomplicated.
So I don't think anything more is needed to be said. I mean, sure, let's have a quick yarn about that. But does that make sense? Let's take what happens in the UFC, that confusion where literally those guys have to make their decisions in a fraction of a second, when literally the punch is coming their way and they need to decide whether to do what their boxing coach says, and that's parry and counterpunch, what their wrestling coach says, and that's parry and shoot and takedown, what their Brazilian jiu-jitsu coach says, and that's do something else and whatever, what their endurance coach says, and that's you got to be able to take a hit. I tell you, maybe that's what's happening in our world now, with the myriad of coaches there that are sitting there kind of telling you what to do with your next marketing spend. You've got your sales coach telling you need to be better at converting and better at not letting any lead go unconverted. Every lead has to become a listing. You've got your marketing coach saying the exact opposite, that, like this is the way I take it. I say that no matter what you say now, you aren't going to be able to turn a March 2018 seller into a 2017 seller this week, and the sales coach might be saying the exact opposite, that if you use, dig down and find the right compelling reasons in order to do business with you. All us coaches, we've got a different way of doing business, and we're all advising you to do it our way. You've got a social media coach potentially that's telling you all the ways to go all in on social media, on LinkedIn, on everything. So I wonder if that is why agents are getting coached into paralysis, meaning they end up getting advice from all these places, and as soon as these advice pieces conflict, then they end up being paralyzed and not doing anything. So I wonder, again, for me, now, same thing for me. I have a copywriting coach telling me one thing. I have a marketing coach telling me one thing, and I have all these different people advising me on how to do my business. And the way that I got through it, and I don't know if this is the way that is going to be best for you, but the way I got through it is I listened to all of them. I took it all on board. I implemented just everything hard. I'm very prolific, meaning I put out marketing pieces way too probably often. You probably agree that you hear from me too much. But I'm always testing, I'm always trying it out. And then I've found the ways that work for me based on all of their input, and I've found my own way. But the way that I did that did take a long time, meaning it took thousands and thousands of hours. It took hundreds of thousands of dollars. I had to travel the world and get coaching from all over the world. I don't even know that the way I navigated that was the best way or is the best way. It's a way that got me there, no doubt, but I don't know that it was the best way. I wonder if a way to do it is finding a coach like what they just said on the Joe Rogan thing, finding a true MMA coach, meaning someone who knows how to wrestle, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, boxing, fighting, kicking, striking, kickboxing, all of them. And he's a true, well-rounded MMA coach, UFC coach. And he even said there's only 12 of them in the world or something, if from memory, because again, it was this morning I watched that thing and I'm recording this now. And look, this may be kind of me tooting my own horn, and probably it's the reason that I'm saying it because I'm the only one qualified to say it, is that I wonder if someone like myself, and I don't think there's many of me, who've become pretty good at copywriting but not a copywriting master, who've become pretty good at Facebook but not a social media guru, who've become pretty good at YouTube but not a YouTube guru, who's become pretty good at sales but by no means a sales guru, who's become pretty good at using a multi-step multimedia follow-up system with your CRM, but by no means am I a CRM guy. I think I've become a jack of all trades but a master of none. But compared to most, I'm well above average. But by being a jack of all trades and a master of none, we apply the 80-20 rule, that if 20% of the activities result in 80% of the result, well, what happened is I've become maybe 50 to 60 to 70% of a master in all of those areas. And in doing so, I get at least 80, if not 90, 95% of the results that the master would get. And by doing that, I'm able to advise you on so many areas of expertise. And again, this sounds like it's an ad for me. It's not. It's just I've identified a problem, being inspired by that Joe Rogan podcast. I think that's why many of even my students maybe get confused into paralysis. So, I think that when you're being coached by these masters or even the jack of all trades, master of none like myself, my advice to you would be this. Don't be paralyzed when there's two people giving you conflicting advice. Choose the advice that you feel is closest to the truth. Surely if you're choosing people with half an idea of what they're talking about, then both of those pieces of advice are going to do something that's better than doing nothing. So implementation over analyzing yourself to death would be my advice. But I do really think that, you guys who are being coached by me currently, you're in good hands because you've got what Joe Rogan there is talking about, having an MMA coach, because you've got someone who knows all of the weapons of influence, all of the weapons of selling, influence and persuasion and marketing. And yeah, you're not going to go wrong because we're following a very well proven and well-trodden path with regards to execution in all of those ways. So anyway, food for thought. I hope that makes some sense. And I hope it's not too self-serving because really based on that kind of thing, all roads lead to Glenn because all of the others are masters in their own field, but they're not jacks of all trades and masters, not necessarily of any, but pretty bloody good in all of those ways. So anyway, food for thought. All right, until next time, guys. Bye for now.